Well, hello everyone out there. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our webinar on your admissions path to MBA success. We have four great schools here today, and we have people who know all you need to know about how to get in. Program directors, director of admissions, director of full-time MBA recruiting. So let me introduce everyone first, and then we'll get started. From UMass, the Isenberg School of Management, up in the Berkshires, beautiful area. Laura
Yep,
Curtis,
there you go. Yep. Thanks, John. Nice to be
who
here.
is program director of the on-campus MBA at Isenberg. And you'll want to know about this one. And I'll tell you a bunch of reasons why once we get into our conversation. From Johns Hopkins University, the Carey School of Business, Jen Howder, who's director of admissions. Obviously, Johns Hopkins is in Baltimore. And this is a school that has closely aligned itself with the great med school and has an incredible offering of healthcare management uh, things to offer. We have Carla Mueller, Director of Admissions for the Jack Welch Management Institute. Carla is a familiar face in our Center Court series, who'll tell us about probably, the most practical of all programs based on the teachings and the ideas of the legendary chairman and CEO of General Electric. And then at Georgia Tech, we have the Scheller College of Business, Rebecca Whitley, Director of Full-Time MBA Recruiting. So, everybody, welcome. Laura, let's start with you and give us a sense of the Isenberg full-time on-campus MBA.
Absolutely. Thanks, John, for having me today. So the full-time program here at Isenberg, we like to think of it as sort of a boutique experience. We're a smaller program compared to many others. So we're looking at really kind of between 30 to 40 individuals every fall that come in. And we're really kind of situated, as you said, kind of in that Western Mass area where we have a close enough relationship with Boston and with New York City. So you get that benefit of the small town on-campus experience, that full immersion that you're looking for, with that benefit of being able to take advantage of, right, those two major cities, only a couple hours away. So we do a lot of events and a lot of treks to different companies, things of that sort. We are that traditional two-year program, and we offer 4 different dual degree programs at this point, which is fantastic. So actually about half our population is pursuing a dual degree, and the other half is pursuing that's traditional core MBA program.
And I should point out that you're located actually in Amherst,
Correct.
which is
Yep.
a quintessential New England college town. Beautiful place. I know it well because one of my daughters went to UMass for both her undergraduate degree and her graduate degree. So I spent a lot of time in and around UMass.
Yeah.
Then we have the Carey Business School. Jen, give us a sense of your MBA program.
Sure. Thanks, John. So the Carey Business School is located in Baltimore, Maryland. As part of the Johns Hopkins University, we are not located directly with the undergrad campus, which is in an area known as the Homewood campus, but we're actually in Harbor East, which is a great neighborhood of Baltimore, as the name suggests, directly on the harbor. So beautiful views from our building, in close proximity to neighborhoods that are great for young professionals, very walkable for our students. It is a full time 2-year program. We have about 75 students per cohort each year. So again, a rather small class size, but done very intentionally to make sure that our students have the best access to the various resources. And I also want to highlight just how integrated we are with the overall Johns Hopkins ecosystem. John, as you pointed out, we have a lot of interaction with our medical school, but also the Bloomberg School of Public Health, the Whiting School of Engineering, the School of Advanced International Studies. We have a variety of different dual degree programs offered with these various schools. So you'll see a lot within our program all different types of backgrounds, but a lot of opportunities to engage with this overall Hopkins ecosystem.
And your location is spectacular. You're in essentially a skyscraper overlooking the harbor. It's a beautiful place, and on a spring or fall day, it's a great place to go downstairs and have a drink at the bar or the restaurant right on the harbor there, right at the base of your building. It's really beautiful. And then we have really an online experience. Carla, talk a little bit about the Jack Welch Management Institute.
Yes, thank you again for having me, John, and I would love to. So I'm the director of admissions. I started with Jack almost from day one. So the program was created about over 13 years ago. Jack had a vision, as John mentioned, after being the CEO of General Electric for all those years. After retiring, he had a vision for creating a program that was going to be top tier and top ranked. But with a kind of a few differences, he wanted to design a program for working professionals. So the flexibility and accessibility and asynchronous format is really key. Jack had a vision for having a program that was designed to our philosophies learned today, apply tomorrow. So everything that's being taught by our top tier faculty, and our faculty are world class. In fact, poets and quants in the last 3 years have ranked them in the top 3 for overall quality and accessibility. So that's one of our key differentiators, is who you're learning from and how you're learning. It's designed to be very practical and immediately actionable. We enroll about 300 students a quarter, but we keep our classes very small. So we have 150 faculty. So our classes are never more than 21 students, who get that personal hands-on engagement from your faculty. And our faculty, as I mentioned, are all experts at practice. So you get a lot of hands-on coaching and guidance and mentoring from the faculty. In addition to that, throughout all the coursework are keynote video lectures from people like Jack Welch and Warren Buffett. And we have 36 what we call experts at practice, who are many top name CEOs, a lot who are mentored under Jack. So the difference is really who you're learning, how you're learning, and the flexibility. So it's a 12 course program, regardless of concentration. And I can get into the concentrations in a little bit, but the great thing is you pace it. The students pace it as they go. They can get through the program in as little as 18 months, so 6 quarters. If they take 1 class per quarter, it'll take them 3 years. Our average graduate, we have over 4,500 graduates now. It's taken about 2 to 2.5 years, and some of our students are taking longer. We've had students who are taking 4 and 5 years to get through the program, or longer. So really that flexibility is key. And also it's a very diverse population. We're headquartered here in Washington, D.C., but we have students from all 48 states and 82 countries around the world. About 20% of our students, our population, are international. So you're getting a very diverse perspective and getting to know people across the globe from all industries. So that's really one of the differentiators. And then another differentiator is our incredible networking community. So we have something called JHU My Connect, which is an award-winning platform where students are able to, as soon as they get enrolled, start connecting with all those alumni, the 4,500 alumni and the 1,800 students in the program. They can be matched up with mentors. They can find other students in their area. We had 57 virtual networking events last year alone. So lots of opportunities for students to network and get to know and engage with the students outside of the classroom.
The other thing is your students are fully employed.
They are. That's what
yeah, you're taking the MBA and you're essentially applying what you learn.
With the exception, John, there are some people in transition. Like we get a lot of military people in transition. So maybe they come to us while they're in transition, or people, but they have that work experience behind them that they can relate to.
That's great. Now, Rebecca, tell us about the Georgia Tech full-time MBA.
Absolutely, John. Thank you for having us. Excited to be here. So Georgia Tech is in the heart of Atlanta. It's in Midtown Atlanta. I adore Atlanta. It's a really diverse, vibrant city. It's a very green city. I find in my travels with some people who have never visited Atlanta, they think of skyscrapers and they don't think of all of our amazing greenery and parks, but it's an incredibly green city, which I really adore the diversity of that kind of landscape. It just got #2 for most livable city in the US, which is exciting. But our full-time MBA program, I think something it does really well is the community piece. It is a small program. I know several of the other folks on the call were talking about how small their program is. Each cohort for us is about 70 students. So it really is where everyone knows everyone. It feels like a small town. I love it as a staff member because I walk around the building and there's no strangers. You know, you walk through the spaces and you're chatting with everyone. So it's really delightful in that way. Very hands-on learning. It really is kind of a program of practice. So a lot of practicum courses, a lot of faculty that are putting very real world examples in place in the classroom, bringing in a lot of guest speakers and people from industry to come in. And it helps that we have a ton of alumni in the Atlanta area that remain in that area. So when it comes to networking and connection to the actual industry, there's kind of a plethora of that as well. But as far as community and curriculum, I think we just succeed in that. We consistently rank third for best classroom experience with it amongst MBA programs, minority student experiences in an MBA program, which we're quite proud of. And I think that only echoes the Atlanta diversity that is available to us, which is great to be amongst a city that's so diverse and really a melting pot of people. And then last and not least, our career services, the Jones MBA Career Center is just phenomenal. Second year in a row, we are #1 in the world for MBA career services. They are a group of humans that very much care about our students and their success. And because we're a small program, they really get to get in the weeds and kind of dream with our students and talk about what is the goal? What do we want to do after this MBA? And let's get you there. So I think we do a couple of those things really well. And but the biggest thing is it's a small program, traditional full-time MBA program. And then if anyone tuning into this call is in the Atlanta area, we also have a part-time evening MBA program that's primarily in person, and then executive MBA program for anyone in the area too.
So lots of different options there. Now, Rebecca, if you had to identify one key element that you would call a differentiating aspect of the program, what would it be?
I think I would say our practicum courses. We have a lot of practicum courses. We have them in 10 of our 16 concentration areas right now, and I think it continues to grow. So when a student enters our program, they really, you know, they have a ton of class options, but if they want to do a class where they can work with a company in the Atlanta area or abroad, we have international practicums as well, and help to solve a problem. For example, a very popular practicum class is pro bono consulting. So we have some students that enter the program. They might want to do consulting, but they've never had the opportunity to do consulting work. They'll take pro bono consulting, the practicum class, work with a company, do a consulting project throughout the semester, kind of in this safety bubble with guidance of the faculty member, work on that project, and get to network with that company and that company's leadership, get to put that company on their resume as well. And that project on their resume, have those stories and interviews and such, which is always extremely helpful. So really get true hands-on experience and then ultimately decide, do they want to enter into that field? Do they like consulting? And they're earning course credit. So I think something really cool about our program that we offer a wide variety of is our practicum courses. And for someone coming from the workforce going back to school, I think it's appealing too, because, you know, if you've been working for a number of years and you're talking about going back to school, you don't want to do busy work. You want to do work that feels really worthwhile, and you want to get the return on investment too.
And Atlanta is corporate headquarters for a lot of big companies, including Coca-Cola,
Absolutely.
Home Depot, Delta Airlines. It's where CNN was founded. So there are a lot of corporate opportunities in the area. And Georgia Tech is obviously very well regarded. And you probably have a good number of experiential projects with the companies I just mentioned.
Yeah, I feel like the faculty kind of have a running list of who they work with each semester. And sometimes that list is like a wait list is what it feels like, I think, because so many companies are like, yes, I want the MBA students to do this project for me, you know, because it's free help from the company lens, right? So yes, I
Right.
think the faculty have a smattering of partners at their disposal, which is phenomenal resource that the Atlanta area provides.
So Lara, if you had to identify a single differentiator for Isenberg, what would it be?
Yeah, it's going to sound like a repetitive cycle here, but I would also emphasize probably our experiential learning with our program. You know, I mentioned the fact that we are, you know, relatively close. We're not located right in the Boston metro area, but we're still, you know, an hour and a half without traffic to Boston. And we work, all of our students are required actually to do a practicum project in their first year. And so it's built into the core requirements, and we work with not just local businesses, but regional businesses, national businesses. Sometimes they have ties through alumni, and they are really kind of this consulting based project, very similar to what Rebecca was just speaking about. But I think kind of what makes ours a little bit different is a lot of times our emphasis is on really kind of the life sciences and the biotech field, right? You think about Boston, you think about that's a really big hotbed for those industries. And that's actually very reflective on the UMass campus as a whole. So UMass Amherst is the flagship campus within Massachusetts, and we have a number of our students that are coming from STEM fields into our program that are looking to really kind of make that transition into more management levels, but still within those industries. And so we often work with those types of businesses. We have great placement with our alumni, and we also work with the Institute for Applied Life Sciences, which is an incubator space here on campus that you know, builds out grants, awards money to startups, and our students bring that business experience to those startups and pre-startups that they're really kind of working from ideation all the way through to product launch, et cetera. So I think for us, that's really kind of what we're honing in on with our population, and you see that more so as well with adding in our dual MSBA program. So we have a lot of, you know, more on that STEM side, that emphasis within our curriculum and really with that experiential learning.
Right. Now, Jen, we mentioned the business of health as a differentiator for the Carey School at Johns Hopkins University. I would think that that is your single most important differentiator in the marketplace, is it not? Or am I wrong?
I think that is very, very important, and I don't want to discount the business of health. But we want students to realize that we're not just a healthcare MBA. There is so much more that we do offer. And to not continue on the experiential learning trend, even though that was going to be my answer, I will switch that up a little bit, have a little bit of a different spin on that, in the sense of the way we approach experiential learning. First and foremost, when we redid our curriculum back in 2021, we were very intentional with how we built it into the curriculum. We looked very hard at, you know, the World Economic Forum's reports about the top 10 skills that workers would need, you know, thinking about what organizations are going to need for the future from the Future of Jobs report. And we really built the curriculum out with a scaffolding approach, knowing that, you know, it's about finding what strategies work best for you. So we know that we need to think creatively, we need to innovate to overcome obstacles. And so the full-time MBA curriculum is a scaffolded approach of sequential intentional skill development. And that starts from the very first fall term with the big data consulting project. We partner with McCormick, local right here to Baltimore. They turn over a data set to us, and it's the first opportunity that our students have to really analyze the data, work with some different data analysis tools. And that leads into the spring semester where we had our innovation field project. Again, you're working with a real company. We've partnered with Amazon, American Express, Kaiser Permanente, Merck, so a variety of different industries all over the world. And again, this is really your opportunity to be hands-on with that company, partnering with them to solve one of their issues that they're faced with. But outside of that, to kind of get back to the Johns Hopkins ecosystem, there are a lot of our experiential learning opportunities that get you out with the other grad students from the other programs across Johns Hopkins. So something I always like to highlight is Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures, or JHTV for short. That is an assortment of programs and services related to innovation, entrepreneurship, technology. We have a commercialization academy that brings in teams of students from across JHU to bring new products to market. So it's really about how you're getting the expertise from each of those schools. You might have med school students, the engineering students, and then it's our students at Carey that are really bringing the business acumen to those projects. And the last thing I'll note is that all of our experiential learning really is based on one of Carey's key values of business with humanity in mind. So as much as possible, we do partner with local community-based businesses. We have a community consulting lab, for instance, where we are working with minority-owned or BIPOC businesses in the local Baltimore or Washington, D.C. area. And our students get that firsthand experience, and we have a way to give back to the community as well. And we've actually seen a lot of our students, because of these opportunities in Baltimore, have stayed in Baltimore post-graduation. That might not have been ever really something that was their plan, or not something, that they thought of Baltimore as that city before, but because of the connections they make with the community, they really are excited to stick around and call that home.
That's great. Carla, what about Jack Welch?
Wow,
What
there's so
was it
much.
like
If
for
I
you?
had to narrow it down to one, I've already mentioned how that, Jack Welch founded this program on the philosophy of this being a learn today, apply tomorrow approach. So the faculty are top tier. They're all experts of their field, but they really act as coaches and mentor. We're really obsessed with student success, student support, and student satisfaction. So the individual faculty will act as not only, they're interacting obviously in the classroom, in the online classroom, but they invite and encourage as much one-on-one interaction as possible. We're really obsessed with meeting students where they're at in their career and helping to elevate their career. Learn today, apply tomorrow. Jack used to say, get promoted on Friday, And so, but really, the return on investment, more than 2 out of 3 of our students going through the program are telling us they're getting at least 1 promotion and a raise while they're going through the program because of that philosophy. So we're really focused on, meeting students where they're at in their career and helping to elevate them even as they're going through the program. And then as far as the support goes, all kinds of support, not only the faculty, but every student has their own individual advisor. We have communication coaches, we have numbers coaches, and then of course the support that I previously mentioned throughout the networking community. Students can be matched up with mentors. So there's all kinds of support, whether it be if a student needs help with writing, if they get in those finance courses and they need numbers coaches, if they need career services, we have a career services center. And then as far as satisfaction goes, John, as you know, Jack was obsessed with NPS scores. So we really pride ourselves on, we're constantly surveying our students, making sure that they're happy with their experience, asking them, how can we make this better? Our NPS scores are consistently above 80, which is really unparalleled. I mean, that's on par with some of the best customer satisfaction companies like Tesla and Apple and Southwest. And really the average for a graduate MBA program, NPS score is 27. So ours are consistently in the 80s, which we really pride ourselves on, because we want to make sure that the students are really getting what they're getting the quality that they're expecting and the support that they're expecting, and then learning how we can get better. We have a continuous improvement model here. So I think those are just a few of the things that make us different. And then also just how diverse the program is. Like I mentioned earlier, students from every corner of the globe, 82 countries around the world, every state and 48 states represented. Our age range varies from 23 to 70 years old. The average age is 41.
70.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, so in general, it's a slightly older student with more work experience.
Right. Average age is 41 with 15 years of work experience or more. But we have students just starting out in their career. We like to see a minimum of 5 years of work experience. With that 5 years of work experience, we can waive the GRE or GMAT. Now, we do have some students with maybe they really want to get in the program, but then if they have less than 5 years of work experience, then they go take the GRE or GMAT. But 99% of our students in the program get that GRE or GMAT requirement waived for them.
And for those of you out there who do not know what an NPR is, it's a Net Promoter Score. It's the percentage of people who experience a product or a service that would recommend it to others. So rates in the 80s are almost unheard of. The Apple iPhone, I think, is around 48 or so. Give you some perspective. So, Rebecca, give us a sense of your latest class profile. Who have you brought in? Both gender
Absolutely.
breakdowns, international, age, the usual thing.
So I mentioned we have a small program. We are at 71 for this incoming class, intentionally so. We don't plan to grow it. We like to stay 70 to 80. That's kind of always the goal. We're really proud to say 41% women this last class. We hope to hit gender parity next year and can just continue to grow women, but 41% women, we are just very, very proud of that. We're also 41% US students of color, which is really great for us. It's just phenomenal. Average age 5.5. So very similar to Carla, like we like to have around 5 years of work experience. Average GPA 3.3. But the biggest thing I always like to share, because I think it's a common misnomer, is that you don't have to have business experience. Also, we're Georgia Tech, so a common question I get is, you have to have been an engineer to come to Georgia Tech? No, we are friendly to all diverse backgrounds. I actually have some physical therapists and an ER nurse in this last cohort looking at making a pivot, and our career center has had a lot of success with our students making really big pivots. So really good diversity as far as background, but really good diversity as far as careers, what they did previous to coming into the program. So don't have to have a business background is what I always like to share too.
Right. We love non-traditional business school students.
Mhm.
Lara, at Isenberg, in your intimate class, what's the mix?
Yeah, absolutely. So this past fall, we brought in a little bit smaller than some other years, but still really strong. So we have 30 students in our first year cohort. We do have gender parity. I'm really proud of that. We're 50-50 with that even split. And we're just over about a third international. And that's really coming from about 9 different countries. So it's basically one, we don't really have any repeats there in terms of our representation on the international side of things. Similarly to Rebecca, we definitely you don't need business experience. I mentioned a lot of our students are coming from STEM fields. We have a student with a PharmD. We have 2 doctors in our program. We also have students that are coming in from what I like to say, what my background was when I went through an MBA, was the humanities, right? So really kind of more non-traditional. We've had students that have worked in HR for nonprofits. We've had a couple high school teachers. So really kind of all over the place. In terms of age, we also have a pretty wide spread. We do typically look for 3 years of work experience. So our youngest population is kind of mid-20s, but we have students that are coming in with about 15 to 20 years as well as on the other end. So it's a pretty broad range. But I find with that classroom experience, it's actually really beneficial for both, right? You have the younger students that are really learning from the older students, but the older students learn just as much from the younger students, right? Who have been, a little bit maybe different experience in terms of their undergrad and really kind of what that work has looked like since then. And you end up getting we're about a third of our population comes in with another master's degree of some sort. So definitely a broad range there with our population, even with that smaller size.
And as a side note here, I recall that at Isenberg, you have an incredibly generous fellowship awards for your students, among the most generous in business education. Is that still the case?
That is the case for our current population. We are looking at potentially different models moving forward, but definitely still having funding available moving forward. But exactly what that entails is still being worked out. But current population, yes, has that working fellowship that provides very little to no debt. It's really kind of more just living expenses that they're having to worry about.
Right. Jen, what's the latest Carey class look like?
Students this year. We continue to see gender parity in our class, with 56% of our students being female. Our international population is about probably a third of our class, with 19 countries represented. 4.5 years of average work experience for us. So again, we do have some students who are on, you know, the shorter end of that, but probably range up to about 9-10 years of work experience. And I think the one thing that I like to highlight is that this is the first time we've seen all of the dual degree programs that we offered. We have at least one student from each of our dual degree programs this year. So that means we have a student from the Whiting School of Engineering who is finishing up her bachelor's in engineering and partnering with the MBA. We have a student who is at the School of Advanced International Studies doing international relations. We have one of the students who is completing the MD program. We have 2 students from the JD program. And then we have a fair amount of students who are actually getting their MPH from the Bloomberg School of Public Health. So across the spectrum of backgrounds. And again, just to highlight what some other folks have been saying, it's not something that it's required that you're coming from a business background anymore. 32% of our class are coming from STEM backgrounds, 31% from health and medicine. And business and commerce actually comes in much smaller at just 11%. So a lot of diversity within our class.
Right. Now, Jen, I wonder, aside from solid academic credentials during your undergraduate years or a test score, how do you assess a person's fit for your program?
I love that question. And this is something that I personally just take so seriously with my job. I think of my role as the director for the full-time MBA program. It's like a puzzle for me with, you know, given that we have a small class, you know, 75 students, it really is making sure that I have the perfect fit of students in those 75 seats. And really what that comes down to, as much as we place, you know, the importance on the academic background in terms of test scores and your undergrad or graduate GPA, and your work experience, your leadership, at the end of the day, it fundamentally comes down to the Carey values that I talked about before, this idea of pursuing business with humanity in mind. And that's why we have one essay question entirely devoted to this, because we want to make sure that that is a student that's going to fit in our community. I want to make sure that within those 75 students, that is the one thing that they all have in common, no matter what part of the globe they come from or what part of, you know, what industry, what undergraduate degree, that is their shared experience. They all have a reason, a purpose for pursuing business with humanity in mind. And that's really what's going to bring them all together and foster this sense of collaboration. It is a very, very collaborative environment, and that's because of the types of students that we're bringing in and these shared values.
Right. Totally makes sense to me, for sure. Who else wants to talk a little bit about what you're looking for? Carla, why don't we go to you? I mean, what the ideal student has what characteristics at Jack Welch? I'm assuming that they're really hands-on already and they're very practical, and they want to get immediate value out of the program.
Exactly. And, you know, aside from the, you know, the basis of admissions, the bachelor's degree, we like to see around a 3.25 undergraduate, but we accept many, many people with less than that based on their work experience that can compensate for that. But really, we actually interview every single applicant either before or after they apply, but before we enroll them in the program. I'll either interview them myself or somebody on my admissions team will interview them. We want to get a really good sense of who the student is, what their goals are, how we can best align them. So we have 4 different concentrations. Our original MBA, we now call the leadership concentration. And then we do have a fantastic concentration in healthcare. We have an MBA with a concentration in HR, which is SHRM aligned. We have a concentration in operations management. And I'm really excited about our newest concentration that we just started offering. It's our concentration in AI. So we get a sense of, we want to make sure that we get that, figure out what that student's goals are, making sure they're good fit for the program, but much more importantly, making sure that we're a good fit for them and making sure we're getting them in the right concentration that's going to align with their goals. So we have that very consultative approach with every student before we would ever actually register and enroll them.
And the concentration means that you would take how many electives to specialize in one area?
Right. So there's always going to be the 8 core classes, and then there'll be 3 concentration courses, and then the capstone course is going to be focused on that concentration. So it might be a capstone course with a focus on AI, or a capstone course with a focus in operations or healthcare, HR. So really the 8 core classes and the 4 concentration courses.
Right. Makes sense. Rebecca, how about at Scheller?
Absolutely. I'm going to echo Jen a little bit. You know, ours is a small program as well. So something we definitely look for is positive contributors to that Scheller community. We want to make sure we're selecting individuals that are going to continue to replicate this amazing, warm, tight-knit community that we've established at Scheller. You know, when you have a small program, it's almost, you have to be protective of it because it is such a great program. So we want to select, you know, inclusive leaders, ones that work well on teams, ones that are self-aware and ready to engage with people that are different than themselves. Because the reality is that mimics the real business world as well. And our faculty, because the classrooms are small, they're able to do their best teaching, which often means discourse and negotiations and healthy conflict and teamwork and this kinds of styles. So we want to select individuals that are ready for that level of engagement and collaboration, like Jen mentioned. So we're definitely trying to find the right personality and leadership style that replicates that. Also, we want individuals that are motivated. Usually we can suss that out in the application essays, making sure that they've really researched and thought about this next season of their life. But the interview really provides clarity if there wasn't clarity about why do they want to get an MBA? You know, what are the motivating factors? What do they want to do post MBA? What are their career goals? And just confirming that they've really thought about this experience. Not that they have to have it all figured out, but that they've really thought about this next chapter so that they're ready and motivated to engage once they're here. Because our career services team is phenomenal, and they're going to give them every resource, and they are going to give them every level of support, but it's also a high level of accountability. So we've got to have folks that are ready to lean in and get every resource out of it as well. So,
Lara, what are you looking for in an ideal student?
Yeah, I mean, again, echoing a lot of what my colleagues here have talked about, but you know, we interview every single student, right? So we review the applications, we invite individuals to interview, and that interview, as I told prospective students last week on an info session, right? We're not just trying to figure out if they're a good fit for us, but it's really important as well for them to figure out if we're a good fit for them, right? Like, we all know that students are applying to multiple MBA programs, but what is it specifically about Isenberg? And I stress that so much in the info sessions and talking with prospective students is, you know, your personal essay, you may have a general format that you're following, right? But you really need to tweak it to really for us to say, okay, like they've called out specifically, they've done their research, right? They know what Isenberg has to offer that differs from other programs. And so that interview really allows us to kind of draw that out a little bit more, similar to what Becca's saying, you know, what is it about their goals, right? We don't hold them to it, but do they have an idea of what that path looks like, you know, during their time here at Isenberg, immediately after graduation, 5 years, 10 years down the line? Can we actually help them get there, right? You know, do we have that network that's going to be able to get them to be successful in that particular industry? Or is it something that maybe isn't necessarily a strength? And while, you know, we may not have a concentration in that area that matches what they're looking for, right? It's my job to, you know, to make sure that they're going to have a successful time here for 2 years. And if we can't offer what they're looking for, then that may not be, they could be great on paper and look fantastic, right? But at the end, they're not going to be satisfied and we're not going to be satisfied. So I really try to find that balance between what we're looking for and what they're looking for, and making sure that match is there before we offer admission.
Right, makes sense. Lara, now, if I were able to come to Isenberg on graduation day and invite your
Traffic is
entire
terrible.
graduating and invite your entire graduating class of MBAs for a drink afterward, and I asked them, tell me 3 things about the program that you think will resonate with you for a lifetime, what 3 things would they identify?
Yeah, I think number one would be the cohort, honestly. And I say this as an alum of the program, but also, right, as an advocate for the program. I've established relationships through that smaller cohort that are not just personal in nature, but are just as equally, right, professional as well. And so you have this, cohort that you can go to 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10, 20. We had an alum who graduated in the 80s that came back and spoke about how he's still in contact with, classmates of his however many years later, right? 50,
Right.
40, 45 years later. And they've been in contact throughout, and you've used each other beneficially for that networking over the course of the time. So cohort size for sure. I definitely would emphasize the experiential learning that they go through. So that practicum project and being able to step away from the working world, but without fully stepping away from the working world, and they can build up that resume and go back successfully into the world. And then I would also really kind of shout out our career services office as well, because we actually just hired up and we have a couple new coaches in there that are dedicated to the full-time program. So really kind of elevating that one-on-one career services with our students and really kind of navigating really kind of the intent behind the MBA and the intent behind the jobs that they're seeking.
Right. Rebecca, what 3 things would your graduates tell me about?
I feel like it's going to be so similar to Laura, but I would say their classmates. They would definitely tell you about hanging out with their classmates. I joke that they're a little obsessed with each other. For a brief amount of time, I was in the cohorts group me, and I had to exit because there was far too many notifications going off. They have a social every Thursday night, but outside of that, they're constantly hanging out with each other. That's a very active social group, our cohorts. Very, very much engaged with each other. And those friendships last for so long. I mean, it's professional. They call on each other for support in their careers later on, but also they're attending each other's weddings. I can't tell you the number of times we have alumni come back for panels and networking events, and they just came from so-and-so's bachelor party or so-and-so's baby shower. So it's a connection that lasts for years and years. The second I would say is our alumni and our network. Georgia Tech, because it has such a long tradition, I think, but there's a real sense of pride to be a Georgia Tech student, but also to be an alumni of Georgia Tech. It is contagious. I love it. As a staff member, it's one of those things that makes my job so easy. If I traveled to Seattle recently. I emailed one of our alums that live in the city, and I said, hey, I'm doing this event. Do you want to come table with me? It's after work. They've worked a long day, and immediate response 5 minutes later, absolutely happy to be there. She's an exec at Amazon. She also has a following on TikTok. She does TikToks on the side, and she made a TikTok about the event. And we actually had a lot of women come up to the grad student event. It was a Forte forum, if you're familiar with Forte Foundation. And women come up to the event and say, I saw your TikTok. That's why I'm here. So just alum are willing to go above and beyond. And our current students have said that, there's this real sense of you're a Georgia Tech current student or alumni. So am I. I've never met you, but let's help each other. So that resounding sense of pride is something that is just, you can't quite put a dollar price on. It's so amazing. And the last and not least, I think they tell you about their career coach. The career team is just phenomenal. I joke that we have an MBA student lounge, this huge student lounge. It's really nice. It has a kitchen, it has a living room, it has conference rooms. But the Jones Career Center is like the unofficial student lounge because they all hang out in there as well. So you'll pass it on any given day and the students are all in there too. And I'm like, y'all know y'all have an MBA student lounge that is actually designed to be hung out in, but they're also close with the career team. And it's a social area as well. So the unofficial student lounge is the Jones Career Center. So they tell you about their career coach, I think is the third thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Carla, at Jack Welch, what are the 3 things that really stand out for students?
Wow, I don't want to sound redundant at all, but definitely the thing I hear that students or alumni are most surprised at is the level of support and networking and community that they gain, these lifelong friendships, and they stay involved through JDMI Connect, and they continue to stay involved. And so that networking is something that surprises students, particularly being an online. They don't think they're going to get that. In fact, we have 150 hub cities now around the world where students are actually meeting up and gathering together. So definitely the sense of community and camaraderie is a huge thing. One of the other things we consistently hear from our students, I think last survey said 97% of our alumni said their confidence as a leader has grown exponentially after having gone through the program. And then the other thing I hear that alumni, I hear this over and over and over again from the alumni, that they're just surprised at the level of hands-on coaching and personal attention that they get from their professors. I don't think they necessarily are expecting that. In fact, I have a quote from a recent 2024 alumni survey, and he said, "I love the fact that I was able to work ahead. It allows me to have time when just disruptions come up due to the normal ups and downs of life." He said the level of quality and convenience are undoubtedly matched by the sincere support and knowledge of JDMI's top-notch faculty. The professors are highly engaged and really do care about the students, acting as coaches and mentors and making sure to give excellent feedback on assignments. They also respond to student inquiries, often within hours and even minutes. So that level of passion and responsiveness and caring from the professors, I think, is what students are most often really pleasantly surprised by.
I loved your second point because Jack would often say that one of the most important traits a good leader can have is self-confidence. So to nurture that in your students is absolutely essential to put them on the path of great leadership. So Jen, your 3 things at the Carey School.
My computer froze for a moment.
Okay, well, you're back.
So I actually just had the opportunity to talk with some of our alumni. I hosted some focus groups as we were getting ready to recruit for this coming year. So just firsthand from their conversations, I think one was the flexibility. A lot of our students note how there are some programs that, based on what they're known for, they'll kind of try and fit you into a mold. And I think that's why at first, as you mentioned, John, us being known for the business of health, I don't want it to kind of have students feel like they're pigeonholed into just healthcare. And I think our students really appreciate that in terms of the opportunities that they get are from a variety of fields, industries, backgrounds, and they can find their own fit within the curriculum, within the clubs and activities and organizations that they join. The other thing is the diversity, just knowing that you're going to be with students from all over the globe, all different industries, all different backgrounds. One of the students, mentioned how there's this transformative power when you travel the globe. And with the Carey program, you don't even need to travel. Right there in your class, you have all of these different perspectives, and it really changes how you view and think about the world. And the last thing is Carey, as a relatively newer, younger business school, even though we've had business classes at Hopkins for over 100 years now, that gives our students the opportunity to be part of something really special. They have the opportunity to make changes. There's not one person on our faculty, staff, administration, our leadership, our dean that is, not going to get behind them if they have an idea of how they want to see something change, a new initiative. So they're really able to make their mark on Carey. And I think that's something that our students are really excited about, being part of something so special.
Great. So as our wrap up, maybe each of you might say how a candidate who's interested in your program could get in touch with either you or a member of your team. Obviously, all four programs here have great websites. There's a tremendous amount of information on the programs there. But Jen, if someone wanted to reach out to you or a member of your team, what would they do?
The primary way is via email to carey.admissions@jhu.edu. That goes to our central admissions team, and then based on your interest, that will get routed to the correct person within our staff. But our website, as you mentioned, has lots of different opportunities. We have virtual information sessions, in-person visits. We have a page on our website called Carey on the Road. So we are all over the globe at any given point. We have staff all over. So come visit us if we are in a city near you. And then we also have different ambassadors on our webpage, both current students and alumni, so you can connect with an ambassador that's in the program that you're interested in.
Which is a great idea for applicants who, well, want to dig a little bit deeper and really get someone in the front lines who can tell you what it's really like to attend the MBA program. Lara, how do people reach you or a member of your team?
Absolutely. So similar to Jen, we have a centralized email address that can get pushed out to the correct specialist for all your questions. So that is grad, GRAD, at isenberg.umass.edu. Our website also has the opportunity for students to make one-on-one appointments with a recruitment specialist. So you can do in-person, virtual, or over the phone. We also have virtual information sessions, and we are finally, which I'm really excited about, bringing back our in-person visit days this fall. So we'll be having those on campus. It's a opportunity for those that are local or within the New England area to come out, sit on a class, speak with some current students, etc. So those are probably the best ways to get in touch, and we hopefully hear from prospective students.
Rebecca?
Hi. Similar to everyone, we have webinars, info sessions, one-on-one chats, and a lot of resources online. But a great connection point is our email. It's mba@scheller.gatech.edu. I edited my title. Folks on the call can see that. But yeah, email us. We'd love to get connected.
Fantastic. And Carla, how do people reach you?
Yeah, so many ways. So we, like everyone else, we have a website, jwmi.com. There's so much information on there. You can fill out a request for information form, and you'll get a dedicated admissions officer reaching out to you. You can reach out to our general mailbox at info@jwmi.com. But also on our website, every Thursday at noon Eastern time, we host a half-an-hour live Q&A. I host it. There's always one of our alumni on there, one of our deans or distinguished faculty to answer live questions. So every Thursday for 30 minutes, we have that available so you can go on our website and register if you want to attend one of our Q&As live and talk to our faculty and some of our alumni directly. So lots of ways. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Carla Bates Mueller on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. That way I'm just a LinkedIn message away.
There you are. Well, Carla, Jen, Lara, and Rebecca, thank you so much for participating in this. I think everyone who's watching got a lot of information. And again, go to the website. If you can visit a campus, visit it. If you can talk to current students or alumni, particularly those who are in fields that you want to enter, do that. I think it's really helpful. And you really get a sense for exactly what people went through and how they feel about the program. So, UMass Isenberg School of Management, Lara, thank you. Johns Hopkins University, Carey Business School, Jen, thank you. Jack Welch Management Institute, Carla, always a pleasure.
Thank you,
And
Jack.
Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business, Rebecca, thank you as well. And for all of you out there, thanks for watching. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants.